Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Beneath the Current. We've got episode 4 this week with the lovely Dana Bingley. Thank you for coming in. And let's just jump right into it. Tell me about yourself, who you are, and what you do here.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be here. And as you mentioned, my name is Dana Bingley. I am a career advisor here on the SLC Cornwall campus. So I work for the Career Services Department, but I've been a part of the SLC community for about 5 years now. So proud to be SLC. Prior to coming into Career Services, I worked with the Student Placement Department. So
Okay.
lots of great opportunities to work with students in those two areas relating to their career readiness. And even before coming to SLC, most of my work was in the nonprofit sector, supporting many different populations, coordinating programs and volunteers in terms of offering socio-emotional support for folks who are navigating change and transition. So that's a really common thread throughout my career is helping people
I
through
was going to
change
say,
and
it sounds like the
transition.
whole time you've just
Yeah.
been helping people. That's
Yeah.
really the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but with career services, I don't know any listeners who aren't familiar with us. I'm going to plug it right away at the beginning where we are
Go for it.
is my office is on the third floor of the Altsville building. So any student or faculty or visitor on campus who's in the Altsville building at the CAF or the library, just keep going up to the third floor. You'll find me in room A304.
Okay, perfect. So, for
Come say
reference,
hi.
for the students that recognize the A building, that's pretty much right above the Shark Tank. So, if you get to the Shark
Yes,
Tank, you go up those stairs right to the third floor, do a loop in the square, and they'll find your office.
absolutely. Come say hi. Pop in.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, Dana's very nice to talk to. So even just go in and say hi. What about before SLC? Where did you go to school? Where are you from?
Well, I am born and raised in Cornwall, and then my partner and I spent about 10 years in the GTA. I went to school there. I went to Sheridan College and U of T, and then we found our way back to Cornwall because of the community and because of the opportunities, and just to come back and explore what those opportunities might look like.
Interesting. So Toronto,
Yeah, for we
and
were in
then
the
come back
GTA.
here.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah,
kind of on the outskirts.
yeah,
That's very very different than being out in Cornwall. So
yeah.
what did you like about Cornwall?
What I like about Cornwall is the sense of community and that it was growing. When we came back, we noticed that Cornwall was really booming, really growing. Lots of new businesses had been attracted to Cornwall. It's also incredibly beautiful in terms of being right on the waterfront, so that
Yeah,
connection
nice.
to nature. And there's something about feeling neighborly even with strangers in Cornwall that you don't really necessarily get in a larger community. So it was that draw to feel connected and maybe more that sense of being involved and belonging.
Well, I'd imagine too, especially because you like to help people. Obviously, right? The smaller your community is, the more people you feel like you can kind of get to and help.
Yeah,
I've noticed a
absolutely.
big difference because I'm from Ottawa myself, and
Okay.
coming up to Cornwall, you actually kind of hit the nail on the head with the small community sensation, being friendly to strangers, things like that. It wasn't like that in Ottawa, Like we lived in a suburb with a million people in one neighborhood, and you don't know any of them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the GTA and I love Toronto, there's lots of accessibility in terms of things at your fingertips. But I can drive there in 4 hours. I can take a train there in 4 hours. It's still available to me. But I'm really enjoying being back in Cornwall.
Yeah, I'm kind of like that too. Like I like to travel,
Yeah,
so I'd rather go visit. I want to go
yeah,
visit Toronto, or I go back and see family in Ottawa or whatever. But I like to come home to my really quiet little house
yeah,
in Cornwall, right? And yeah, I know the neighbors a lot better here. I know my neighbors better here in a year than I did in Ottawa for 30.
yeah,
It's so different. So it's interesting that that brings you back here because especially for you wanting to be involved in a community like that.
yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
feel like probably making a bigger impact on a smaller community, right? You help 10 people in Cornwall, that's, 1% of our whole population, but you help 10 people in Toronto, and that's, you know, how many zeros after a decimal, right? So that's great. Um, I guess one of the things that we've been talking about recently is something called the Pathway to Success
Okay.
here at SLC. Want to give me a little bit of background on what that is?
What that means for career services?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in terms of pathways to success, what it means to career services is that actually directly relates to a classroom presentation that we offer.
Okay.
So, we do have a classroom presentation called Pathways to Success Unlocking Career Readiness with Career Services. And that's something that faculty can book to bring career services into the classroom to meet with students. Because
Okay.
sometimes students don't know that we're here. You know, it's you're coming to a new campus, you're navigating a new place, a new space, a new experience, and it can be hard to get a sense of what services are available to you. So, for us, this Pathways to Success presentation gives us a chance to get in the classroom, get face to face in front of students, tell them about career services, our supports, our resources and tools on our website, as well as our events, webinars, and workshops. But I think more importantly is those presentations give us the opportunity, hopefully, to inspire and empower students to take the necessary steps to build the skills to become career ready. Because really SLC is really focused on supporting career ready graduates. So we hope to go into classes, chat with students, inspire them to be proactive in building skills and connections to become career ready so that they can successfully enter or re-enter the workforce and successfully stay and continue growing in the workforce from there.
Yeah, of course. So the pathway to success is basically a presentation that you guys
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Who did you have a big hand in that presentation, like creating it, or?
We are a tri-campus team, Kingston, Brockville, and Cornwall. So our team, we work really well together across all three campuses in order to put these presentations together. And it is offered across all three campuses.
Oh, okay. And I
Yeah.
guess it's the same for all three
Yep, yeah,
campuses. You did this
absolutely.
one big
Yes,
project,
yeah.
and that's amazing. So you had a hand in
Yeah,
making the whole thing.
we all contribute. We all
That's
contribute.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I guess kind of following that up, you must be making updates to it all the time to keep up with the current market. And what's sort of the biggest change? You said you've been doing it for 5 years now, right? It's sort of in SLC, and I'm sure you've seen the development of the workplace, and especially since COVID. What has changed, now than, let's say, a couple of years ago when you were helping students, or in your presentation? What would have changed?
In our presentations, okay. Well, this presentation is more so an intro to career services.
Okay.
But in terms of webinars and workshops that we offer, which is another service and support, they do depend on needs that we see in the community. For example, one addition to our webinar series and our workshop series is something that we recently offered called Working in Canada and Job Scam Awareness, because as we do know,
Yes.
that incidences of employment fraud and job scams is on the rise. It's always been there, but especially during the pandemic and in this digital landscape, this virtual world that we're really still navigating and will continue to, is job scams and employment fraud are a real thing. So in order to raise awareness amongst students and what to watch out for and those red flags, we have a webinar developed specifically to meet that need and to support students in that area. And I have to mention, because we super graciously received the support from a subject matter expert from SLC Employment Service Ottawa, Desiree Imesh. This is her area of expertise, and she comes in as a guest speaker.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so that's one example of how we identified a need and then developed a specific support tool or service in order to meet that need to bring information to students.
Right. Okay. So I kind of see how this is all looking together now. So I'm just trying to see here, trying to think of how to word the question. So I guess, like you said, you had the need. A need shows up, and you kind of try to get a workshop or seminar about it. In this
Yeah.
example, you said job scams and things like that.
Yeah.
What are some other needs that you think have been on the rise lately? Have there been, again, I guess you could say, especially since COVID, is there other things that you've been focusing on? Anything that's kind of come up and you're like, all right, time to do a workshop or something about this? Like, what kind of needs are coming up?
In terms of a general need, and this really speaks to some of the changes that we've made in terms of how our department is approaching servicing and supporting students, is transitioning focus to career readiness. So something that we might notice is that perhaps a learner or a student might be completing their study of interest or their program and then get to the end of that program and say, what's next? And identifying that that's a really stressful place to be in. That,
Yeah.
okay, now I've attended convocation, I've received my diploma, my degree, or my certificate. Now what's next? That can put anyone in a state of panic and anxiety. So really, in identifying that we were seeing that happen, is shifting our approach to support students to work on those career readiness skills now, and what that might look like for them, so that from day one, being really, really proactive in their approach to building skills and connections, starting day one of their college experience, as opposed to waiting until the end. So we identified that need, and then really did transition the way in which we support and serve students to create opportunities to work with students much more in depth, one-to-one, to help them to develop unique skills based on their interests, their values, their passions, and in order to create sort of a custom pathway to help them be successful. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it does. Yeah, because I think you go to school is kind of structured. You got class at this
Yeah.
time, you got homework at this day, you got group projects you're doing, figure it out, and then you kind of get not like your hand held, but I mean you're in school. There's a structure. This thing's going on. You graduate, you get that diploma. They're like, bye, see ya,
Panic. Yeah.
right? And then what?
Yeah.
Right? There's no professor out in your house helping you find a job or whatever. So I think it's super important too. I think there needs to be a big focus, especially coming out of post-secondary, with like how to get a job or basically how to manage yourself once you're finished,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people end up also perpetually going to school because they like the structure, they like the routine, they don't know how to go get a job, but they know how to be a student.
There's some comfort. Yeah, there might
Yeah.
be some comfort with that very familiar environment and very familiar expectations. So
Yeah.
so exactly, in recognizing that that moment of panic is occurring for a lot of students at the end, what next is really shifting how we meet students where they're at, adjusting our service and our supports so that we can be more present and available for students who want to commit to building those skills on day one, because it's so much more than just saying, like, what each student and learner is learning in the classroom is incredibly valuable, but there's so much more than what's being learned theoretically and practically and technically in the classroom. And that's how we complement the academic programs at SLC, is supporting students to develop those other skills and competencies.
It's like life skills.
Yeah,
Yeah.
develop those other skills and competencies, because you need on your resume, you need more than just your diploma, your degree, or your credential.
Yeah, of
You
course.
do need these other skills and concrete proof that you've had the opportunity to implement it and make impact in order to be competitive in the workforce.
Yeah, of course. And the workforce is ever competitive now.
Yeah.
So that's really, really good. That's awesome. I will say, it's kind of an aside, like in my program, I'm in CST.
Yeah.
And we have a course. It's a career strategies for computing professionals, I think is the title. And it's really, really great, especially if you've never had a job before or
Yeah.
if you're new to Canada. For me, it's a bit different as a mature student. I have a long resume, but for those that have not worked here before or never done an interview before, that class is fantastic, because our
Absolutely.
professor she just explains things like, this is what Canadian employers are looking for, and this is what you put in your resume, and we're doing a group presentation on basically like doing an interview, things like that. And I think it's fantastic that both yourself but also SLC does put emphasis on the life skill aspect of it too, because like you said, yeah, I can build a computer, right? I can do that at any time, but that doesn't mean that I can go out and get a job doing that, because maybe I can't talk to somebody, or I don't know how to stand out in an interview, or even on my resume, or get nervous,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
That's a big thing too. Nerves are a very real thing. I'm
Yeah.
not a good interviewer. This kind of thing I am.
Yeah.
Podcasting is a bit different, but when
Yeah.
I'm going there trying to get a job, I'm thinking about all the things like my wife and my kids. I gotta get a job so I can pay for them,
Yeah.
and then I get all worked up, and then it's having a good basis on getting through that
Yeah.
is fantastic.
Absolutely. And
So-
you're absolutely right. The program's career readiness course content is incredibly valuable, in addition to career services, but also a shout out for field placement. Any program that has a field placement, a
Oh,
work
yeah.
placement, or a clinical placement, what a gift, what an incredible opportunity to put theory to practice, to connect with
yeah.
community, and to and explore different areas of an industry, and really put those skills to practice before you launch. So, there's
Oh, it's
so many.
fantastic. And I think
yeah.
SLC, like a majority of the programs have placement options. locations.
Many on Cornwall campus.
Yeah, there is a lot. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I guess I just have one here. It's now that you have so you have advising appointments. So can you give me a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So we have a career advising appointment. Our appointments specifically designed for students who are willing to commit the time and energy to develop what I've been mentioning is those career readiness skills and competencies. So a career advising appointment is 45 minutes in length.
Okay.
It's one-to-one with your campus career advisor in person or virtually, because we're still flexible and understand that, folks have lots going on outside of class. So to accommodate that, you can book in person or you can book virtually via MS Teams. So that 45-minute appointment is an opportunity to meet with a career advisor, an opportunity to go a little bit deeper, to work with you where you're at, meeting a student where they're at, identifying their unique skills, their values. What do you value in a career, in your professional identity? Because that is such a core component of making decisions for next steps. So in those appointments, identifying skills, strengths, maybe gaps, some areas of growth and development to be competitive in the job market, what those values are, and then we work together to create a customized plan to help building those skills, building those connections so that the student feels prepared, has a strategic plan to launch into the workforce upon graduation. So for each student, it will look very different, a career advising appointment. It is a multi-session service. So, yes, we'd love for a student to book that first appointment, but what we would really encourage and hope to inspire is booking that follow-up appointment, because each session builds off the next.
Do you, is there sort of like a maximum number of appointments that you do with students, or about how many appointments have you found an average that students need?
That's a good question. So I would say, you mentioned that you're a mature student.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that keeping in mind that each student will have a unique need.
Yeah.
And some students might be further along in terms of, having already cultivated some career readiness based on a past career, previous education. And other students might be quite new to the world of work or the idea of career exploration.
Yeah.
So there is no set number. There's no limit.
Okay.
So one student might come and meet with us twice, another 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Ideally, I would say if you can plan to commit to 3 or 4, so much can be accomplished, even in terms of building confidence, in terms of gaining clarity, in terms of what to do next. What are the next steps?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think, it's investing in yourself.
Yeah.
Even if it takes 10 appointments.
Yeah.
I would take 10 appointments at any point.
Yeah.
If I felt like I needed it, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And it's good to know too that you're not like capping students out. Because
Yeah.
I know some students, especially a lot of them, don't like to look for help.
Right.
So a lot of students may even be reluctant to do one.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, they're gonna be like, okay, like I'm not gonna waste your time anymore.
Right.
Like I
Yeah.
already got 45 minutes. Like I'll figure it out.
Yeah. And
I think it's important for students to know that like, relax. you can do it as many times as you need. And just to clarify, I'm pretty sure it's like everything on campus, but this is free of charge. This is a service.
So you don't, it's a service that's available to all current SLC students who are actively enrolled in a program, as well as recent grads, so up to 6 months after graduation.
Well, that's actually very generous.
Yes. So that can help with that transition. So, after that 6-month period, what we might do is refer you to a community employment service.
Right.
Like Job Zone, GAG, EOTB, we'd forward you off to them to receive additional support. They have incredible support services available themselves. But for that initial transition from graduation to that 6-month window, if you're not sure where to turn, you can still access our services there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of students also don't realize that there's a lot of free services.
Yeah.
And like anytime we do these podcasts, we always clarify, because it sounds like this is something that you would pay someone for.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
But like a lot of the stuff is free for students on the campus.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's important to make sure that they know.
I'm so glad you mentioned it.
Yeah, no, because everyone goes, oh, there's a career service, but and everything, time is money.
Yeah.
So a lot of students may think, oh, I gotta pay for someone for 3 or 4 hours. Think about, I don't know, therapy as an example. It's what, a couple $100 an hour for a therapist, and students may think that it's $50 an hour to talk to a career advisor. A lot of students don't know that it's free.
Yeah, come on up to third floor of Ballsville building. And I love what you mentioned about it being an investment, because, and I do kind of want to speak to that a little bit, because our team, Tri-Campus, understands that being a student is an incredibly busy time. It's a very demanding time.
Yeah.
And I was recently a student again. Last summer I went back to school to do a grad certificate. So we understand that in addition to class schedules, assignments, tests, placements, as well as part-time work, extracurriculars, and family and personal commitments, there's a lot going on as a student. Absolutely. And it might feel like, oh gosh, I don't have time to also integrate, 2 or 3 or 4 career advising sessions into my calendar. But I would really, really encourage listeners and learners to consider career advising and some of the other incredible supports and services available on campus as an investment in future success, and it's an investment in self now and in the future. And to consider how can you build it into your schedule so that it's manageable and you're not overextending yourself, but you're maximizing these supports that are available to you here now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and take advantage of it while you're on campus.
Yeah.
Especially now that COVID's over and we're kind of all back physically in person for the majority. I agree. Yay, right? You're already here.
Yeah.
So spend an extra 45 minutes.
Yeah.
A month even, just try to get in. And I think, but that's the thing too, right? Is long-term planning is really important. You get your short-term, 2 years, I get a diploma, I get out.
Yep.
Right? But then what? I got to plan for the next 30, 40, 50, right? If you're going to be working or you want to get into career, we assume that you're picking something that you want to pursue, right? So you get your 2 years, you're in and out, but then what's an extra 45 minutes a month, every couple of weeks, a couple times a year for the next decades?
For some ongoing support. Absolutely.
Sometimes all you need to is just a couple of those sessions just to get out there, get your foot in the door somewhere. You see all kinds of places. People have been working at the same job for 20, 30 years, and all they had to do was just get in there. And then sometimes that's all they need help doing. Right?
Yeah.
Get out there in the workforce, go get your foot in the door, go get some experience if you haven't had a job yet, and just, you got to think very long term. It's not just 2 years you're in school.
Yeah.
I think a lot of students need to remember that too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's kind of where I think you guys are.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're here for 2 years or 4 if you take 2 programs or go to university, but you eventually leave here.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
You're going to have, and it's not always about the money too, but you're going to leave here, you're going to have bills to pay, the more OSAP, you want to be able to get out there.
And, we spend quite a significant amount of time in the workplace in a lot of cases. So what is going to spark that fire inside of you and keep it burning for the duration of your career?
Yeah, so that's a really good way of looking at it. Yeah, you want to go to work.
Yeah,
or have some
wake up
purpose,
and say,
right?
I'm contributing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel good about it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And just one of the things here, you guys have drop-in hours.
Yeah, this is one of our exciting new ways in which we're reaching students. This is really exciting because in the past, so previously, students were required to schedule an appointment with a career advisor for things like a resume review, a cover letter support and feedback, navigating the job board and some jobs in the community, and to prepare for maybe a job search campaign. But in order, what we recognize is that often those are quite immediate needs. A student is preparing an application for a position they need to apply by a Friday, and there's no appointment availability. What do I do? So now, to be more flexible and to provide much more real-time access to a career advisor, we have drop-in hours. So regular scheduled drop-in hours. Which are on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 12 to 2 p.m. So in my office, and this is across all 3 campuses at their respective career services offices, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 12 to 2, first come, first serve, pop in. If you have a resume and you want some feedback on it, maybe the top 3 things that we might recommend that you adjust in order to stand out as an applicant. If you're developing a cover letter and have no idea where to start, because that's a really notoriously difficult thing to do. Or, what job boards should I be monitoring? How do I monitor them? And how do I organize my job search? Come to drop-in hours. So this is much more serving that more immediate need for students.
Right, or like short inquiries.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
short inquiries.
hey, I got my resume. What do you think?
Yeah.
I'm applying for a job
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Or even, I'd like to learn more about career advising, and I'd like to pop my head in now during drop-in
I got
hours.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Instead of 45
Yeah.
to sit down.
Just to get to know you and the space and see if this is a good fit for me. And, even that is.
And that's the new initiative this year.
The drop-in hours is new.
Yeah.
This is the first semester we're offering it.
Has it been busy?
So it hasn't been, I wouldn't say, this is the thing is I would like students to come see me on the 3rd floor of
Maybe
the
they don't
Altskill
even
building.
know.
Yeah.
I think, again, people don't always know what's going on.
Come see so it hasn't been astronomically busy, but there is traffic.
Oh, well, that's great.
Yeah, there is traffic. And what's quite lovely about it is that it's that chance for students to even just come in really, 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 really quick, get their quick question answered, and then they can come back to another drop-in session later for additional feedback if they'd like.
Yeah, of course.
So it's sort of much more flexible. Hoping that traffic does pick up because it is 2 hours. We spend about 15 minutes with each student, depending on need, what they're coming in when, what inquiry they have. So that's about 8 students in a 2-hour window.
Yeah,
so depending on need, that might change next semester. If we see that more students tend to come in at the back end of drop-in hours, that might tell us that we need to change the hours or the day.
It's definitely like in its beta stages,
Yeah,
right?
it is. Yeah. So we're trialing it, we're testing it, seeing how it works, but it's definitely successful.
I think the hardest thing with the school is getting the news out.
Yeah.
You know, myself working at the student union, one of the big parts of my job is events.
Yes.
And notices and things like that.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed is that there are some students that I've spoken to that have been here for a year already, don't know what the events are, don't know how to sign up for them, don't know where the Shark Tank is, even though it's literally in our building. Like, and it's not because, it's just they come in, they just, they don't read all their emails, or they see 10 emails from the Coral Student Union about the insurance opt-out plans, so they're quickly deleting all the CSU emails. I get it.
Right.
So I think sometimes that happens, right? You say, hey, we got this new thing, we got this drop-in session, and 20% of the students maybe see it, right? It's so the fact that you're getting any traffic at all, I think it's great, because I have seen it where things have launched, or we've had events in the past, not in my time, but in the past where like no one shows up. And it's not like we're not telling you, but I think getting the message out there can be tricky.
It can be tricky. Yeah. And what I would like to say is that we're definitely going to remain steadfast on this and continue to offer it, even if it is a slow start, because we know sometimes a slow build leads to something much bigger.
Yeah, of course.
Word of mouth is huge in a smaller campus and in a smaller community. So our hope is that word of mouth will help, you talk to a peer and they say, oh, I'm applying for this job, or I haven't had any luck with this resume. Do you have any tips? And they might refer them to drop in. So,
yeah, exactly.
So I find that in our college Cornwall campus community, word of mouth is really valuable, and having those ambassadors is great.
It's huge here, because same thing with us. Like, we have a lot of media that we put out, but at the end of the day, we just talk to everybody.
Yep.
Because it's a small enough campus, the community's pretty tight. Excuse me, and everyone just half of the stuff that I found out about, more than half, is like through someone just telling me, or over here a conversation with the hall.
Yeah.
Right. So I think, and this is part of the reason we started this podcast and this initiative, is to kind of have a new way of getting information out there too.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why this is super important for us. And we do have some guests that are off campus, or maybe not directly involved with students, but we also have a ton that are, because like we want to get the students to know their faculty, their staff, what services we have, things like that, because I don't think a lot of students are even aware.
Right. Yeah.
Like when I get told that no one knew where the Shark Tank was, and I'm like, you mean the place where there's video games and TVs to play?
Where there's VR,
You
or
didn't
where
figure
there's
it out?
a wheel?
Yeah, we have a little driving simulator now. And you tell me you don't know where that is?
Yeah.
Like, what else are you doing in your spare time?
Yeah.
Right? So it's you got to get it out there.
Yeah.
Right? Which is...
And keep getting it out there.
Exactly.
In different formats.
Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, like, Nadish back here is marketing genius, right?
Yeah,
all
website
the
is
social media
awesome.
stuff, the design of the website, and like the sharing of the podcast, the whole thing, and it's super important for us. So It's also what we like to have guests like you
Yeah,
come up.
yeah. One of the things, just really quickly,
Yeah, yeah,
is
absolutely.
to help sort of raise awareness about our services and how students can access us, and just so new students, even students who have been here for 2, 3, 4 years, because we have the degree programs that
Right.
will allow students to stay with us for 4 years, was at the beginning of this semester. I don't know if anyone listening attended the resume refresh drop-in booth. So we had these pop-up booths for 3 days, September 12th, 13th, 14th, out in front of the bookstore, because at the beginning of the semester, a lot of students go to the bookstore.
Yes.
So we were set up there for students who are urgently looking for a job to get a quick resume review, but it was also a chance to sort of stop people in person and say, hey, have you heard of career services?
Right. Yeah.
So getting
Was that successful for you?
it was very busy. It was very successful. I feel
Yeah.
like I lost my voice and caught a cold.
Yeah,
as a
me
re-
too
as a
after
result of it.
orientation week. It was
Yeah.
pretty wild. Yeah.
So it was really successful in terms of building awareness about career services. So I think that we can expect to see more pop-up events like that, where we're out of the office and face to face with students saying, hey, and introducing ourselves as career advisors, because that really is important. It is important.
I think pop-up things are always a fun idea too, because you come in and out of the same place every day, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
You're in here maybe 30, 40 hours a week. When you come in, even subconsciously, you notice when there's a change. Right? So if you just set up a booth somewhere and students are walking
Yeah.
by the same bookstore with the one door propped open every single day, 9 to 5, then they're gonna walk by and one day you're gonna be there in a booth and they're
Yeah.
gonna go, there's something new. And
Yeah.
they're always gonna walk over and check it out. So I think that's really smart.
Yeah, we also had a prize there. So
That does
you know,
help.
a prize also brings people to a
My
booth.
events with prizes or free food definitely have higher attendance. I can tell you that. Another thing too, your career services website, I believe it's being updated. Have you guys changed it? Is it ready?
Yeah,
What are you working
it is ready. There are still a couple of final little tweaks and adjustments being made, and we're super, super grateful that the marketing department has helped us to update this website to make it more user friendly and really share our updates and how we've implemented some new services and support. So the website, a student can access it, really anyone can access it from the SLC website, clicking I think it's the services tab and then careers.
Okay.
And that's going to bring you to the career services webpage.
Do you know, does the webpage have its own URL? Do you know what that is? If you don't, that's okay. You explain how to get there. Just some people are like, like with us, you can get there through the SLC website, but it's cornwallstudentservices.ca. You know what I mean?
I would guess that it is stlawrencecollege.ca/career services. That's what I would imagine.
Perfect.
But
We'll give it a shot later.
I don't know. So
But you can get to it through the URSLC.
you can,
Or
yes.
through the SLC website.
Yeah,
sorry.
and URSLC, you're absolutely right.
Perfect. Which is where students will work
yeah.
the most.
So on the website, just to sort of familiarize listeners with the website, there's content for students, for faculty, on how we can support faculty, resources that are available for faculty who want to integrate career development resources into their career prep classes and other classes, as well as resources for employers. If there's any employers listening right now, whether it is students who own a business or employers from community who are listening. So we sort of have information for all three of these different populations. There's also the direct link on our webpage to the SLC Total Hire Job Board. Have you ever heard of the SLC Total Hire Job Board?
I have not actually.
Okay.
Have you knowledge?
I actually have.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
See?
All right.
Some of
Okay.
the news gets out.
50%. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's not bad. So why don't you give us the breakdown of that?
So it is a job board that's managed by our fantastic client advisor, Krista Vidacek, and it is a public job board, which means it's not just for SLC students.
Okay.
However, a lot of the employers across Eastern Ontario who post opportunities there are keen to attract current students and alumni to their opportunities.
Okay.
But it is a public job board. It's free for employers to post their opportunity to our job board. And it is frequented by students, by new grads, by, alumni who have been graduated for many years, as well as community job seekers all across Eastern Ontario.
Interesting. Okay.
So most of the jobs, I would say, are more concentrated in our campus communities, Cornwall, Brockville, Kingston, but there are other positions that are posted for across Ontario and sometimes even other provinces as well.
And where do people access that?
So you can get to it right from our webpage. There is a button at the top of the webpage that says the job board.
Okay.
And it is slctotalhire.com is the URL. That one.
Perfect.
I'm
That one you
feeling
do.
very confident about that one.
Awesome.
So
That's very
maybe I'll
important.
check it and get back to you if I'm wrong. But so there's a direct button at the top of the website page to get to the job board. Our webpage is also where students can book their career advising appointment.
Okay, good
Yeah.
to know. So they can either pop in and see you upstairs, be like, I need to make an appointment, or
Yeah.
they can just do it online.
Yeah, so you can make an appointment by coming in person or go online, and we use Calendly as our booking platform, which a lot
Okay.
of students are familiar with. So you can pick the date, the time that you want to meet, virtual or in person, and submit it from there.
Okay.
And then the webpage has tons of resources that are in multiple different formats, because I know that, folks who might be engaging in some self-directed learning for career readiness,
Yeah.
some want to read a tip sheet, use a checklist, but others might want to watch a video or have a link to another opportunity or information outside, an external link to a support service. So there's lots of different resources and tools right on the website right there.
Amazing. It's good to have like varied options.
It is. Yeah.
Everybody likes to do something and things a bit
Yeah.
differently, right? So
Yeah.
it's good to have the options. I think we kind of touched on this a little bit, but is there anything specific for international students versus domestic students in career readiness or seminars that you host? Do you find a difference? Do you find international students need more help? Like where?
What I would say is that we definitely do have some webinars and workshops that do more specific, are designed to meet specific needs that might be of special interest to international students or those who are new to Canada and the Canadian job market or the Canadian hiring process.
Right.
So that webinar I mentioned before, the Working in Canada and the Job Scams Awareness webinar,
Yeah.
that's one that is specifically designed with international students in mind. And that is offered at the beginning of every semester. So I would encourage students to watch for it, register for it on URSLC.
Yeah.
It's where we post all of our events, webinars, and workshops where you can register and get surge points, surge reward points.
Yes, the surge points have been a big hit this year.
Yeah. So that is one that is specifically designed to support international student population. What I will say as an aside is that everyone can benefit from that webinar and
Yeah, of
workshop.
course.
But it is designed to meet a need that we noticed, is to become familiar with working in Canada and to protect yourself and your personal information as you navigate the hiring process. Something else that we have implemented for international students to support them to become more familiar with local companies, employers, and sort of strategies for networking is a lot of the events that we host. We bring in alumni, so students, to tell their story
Perfect.
from college to career. And we do make an effort, a concerted effort, to bring in international students to tell their success story and how they navigated college to career. On speaking panels, we bring in employers from diverse backgrounds to talk about hiring processes so that students, and particularly students who might be new to Canada, sort of get that sneak peek and that additional information on how to
Right.
be successful and competitive when submitting applications to these companies. Because there's a lot of unwritten rules and unwritten expectations
Yeah.
or norms that might not be, spoken about or easy to access. So having employers speak to those points can really be helpful for newcomers who are navigating our job market here.
And having international
Yeah,
alumni too.
yeah.
I would imagine that as an international
Yeah.
student, like you want to see that you made a good choice coming here and that there's options for you
For
too,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
That it's not, you're not just coming here and then getting a diploma and then there's nothing for you at the end. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you can stay, get a job. It's nice to have evidence.
Yeah.
Like, you want to show students that they're not here for nothing,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? Especially when you're leaving from so far away. I mean, I'm only from an hour away, and I feel like I did a big move and did a whole thing, but I couldn't imagine coming from, India. I think is where the majority of our students, international students, are from on this campus. I couldn't imagine coming from all the way up there and then, having no hopes at the end. It's good to see that there's something.
Yeah, there are definitely resources, there's opportunities, and there are employers who would benefit from the skills that you can contribute, the skills and experience that our international student population
I
are
think
bringing.
everybody has something to
Yeah.
offer.
And particularly, we have several programs here at Cornwall campus, which are grad certificates, are So those international students are already coming in with a bachelor's degree, a master's degree,
Yeah.
and really, really, really valuable professional experience, which will benefit the Cornwall community. Absolutely, no question about it. So
Yeah, I have a student in my program that I can't remember where he's from, but he's an international student and he has like a full on nursing diploma.
mhm.
But he came here and he's like just continuing education as well, and also like he got it over there, so he wanted to come here and like try to like integrate his previous skills here,
Right, yeah,
which I think is great because I mean, the workforce in any field needs people,
especially healthcare, you know, and
especially
you know,
healthcare.
and we really benefit, our healthcare system really benefits from internationally educated healthcare professionals. So
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah. Another thing just for
No,
international
you know,
students is on our webpage, there are career development resources specifically for international students as well.
okay.
So some specific handouts, tip sheets, links pertaining to working in Canada, employment standards in Ontario, networking, and volunteering, which is so valuable.
Yeah.
For folks who are new to Cornwall in general, whether you're coming from another province, another city, another country, for many reasons, and hopefully maybe I'll find a way to sneak more in about the value of volunteerism later.
Yeah, of course.
But definitely for newcomers to Canada, volunteerism is such a great way, not just for networking and making connections that can put you in contact with career opportunities, but cultivating a sense of community and belonging, and if establishing some roots in the community.
Yeah, of course.
Because you know our hope is that students stay in Cornwall.
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah.
You want to stay in the community that you came to, and like you said, get roots. That's what I
Yeah,
started doing.
yeah.
I've only been here for a year, but you know, becoming a part of
Root
the
it
town.
down. Yeah.
Root it- yeah, root down for a while. I guess on that topic, if you want to discuss the volunteer thing, give it to me. What did you want to say about
I
volunteer?
do. This could be a bit of a getting on a soapbox moment for me here.
That's okay. You have the microphone for it.
Because in a previous role, I was a coordinator of volunteers.
Okay.
And I landed my very first out of college or out of university position through a volunteer opportunity.
Okay.
So my career journey, I lend a lot of my success and my experiences and opportunities to volunteerism. And I really, really stress volunteerism to any student, any job seeker as incredibly beneficial. It is a chance to test out some of your skills and your experiences, to explore certain aspects of your field potentially, to see, you know, where do I excel, and to put those skills into practice so that you have proof for your application that you've utilized these essential workplace skills. It's also a chance to identify, you know, where do I need to grow? Where do I need to fill maybe a skill gap as well to help me move into a paid career or a paid opportunity. So there's great exploration that can take place through volunteerism. It's incredible for networking, for meeting people. You know, whether you're volunteering at an organization that feels or, you know, appears on the surface is really directly related to your industry, or you're volunteering for an organization that feels, you know, not related to your industry. Every person that you meet, every connection that you make is a potential opportunity presenting a potential possibility. So you can make really important connections, meet people who can be a reference. They can refer you to jobs in community. They can connect you with others that they might know. So it's a great chance to test out some skills, to meet some people, but also to contribute to community. And a lot of organizations, they have philanthropic efforts, and they have their own values and their own ways in which they contribute to community. And oftentimes they might look for an applicant, or an applicant who has volunteered and contributed to community may stand out above other candidates.
Yeah, that is a big thing. I'm sure you touch on a lot in your sessions, but volunteering is
it's huge.
And
it's
honestly,
huge.
it's a win-win, because even if it's like you said, not related to your field, it's a, like you said, all that stuff, networking, getting getting references, things like that, but also developing your own soft skills, because there are so many skills. Doesn't matter where you work, you gotta have some transferable and soft skills, right? Working with people, being pleasant, showing up to work, even if you're volunteering, let's say at a food bank, right?
Mhm.
People are relying on you. right? So it's important to also get a sense of like, responsibility
Yeah.
without necessarily getting a job right away. Like, I think volunteering is amazing. I know employers look for it.
Yes.
So the whole volunteering aspect is also something that you do discuss in these sessions with
Whew.
students, right?
Absolutely.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, I can tell you're like very passionate about the
I
volunteering.
am.
So
Yeah.
so that's a huge part of the career planning is volunteering.
Yeah.
Because I think it's also important to mention that, because career planning and practice and all of the the pathway to success stuff. Yes, it's about getting a job and getting things after school, but like getting a job in the long-term career plan doesn't mean you leave here with just getting a high-paying job and that's it. Volunteering is a huge stepping stone there, especially if you have no previous work experience.
Yep.
You're new to Canada. You have no volunteering experience. Employers really look for that stuff. So sometimes I think students also need to know that sometimes your long-term plan means volunteering a little bit before you get out there and get a job. So to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah. And continuing to volunteer, even when you're working, to
Oh yeah.
stay connected with community and to continue seeing what's available and just how the community is changing and evolving. Volunteerism, I mean, I can't stress enough how important it is in many respects for students, for anybody who is entering the workforce or looking to transition, to re-enter.
Yeah.
It's such an important thing to do, is to donate that time. And I guess I should stress that volunteering, should take place with a nonprofit, a charitable organization, or a service club. For anyone who might be new to Canada and not familiar with, where can I volunteer?
Yeah.
If you have questions about that, you can come and meet with me, because there's so many organizations in Cornwall seeking volunteers for so many roles that we might not know about.
Yeah.
So volunteering isn't just about direct service roles. Sometimes we might think of volunteering and think social service work, or working with children, or working with individuals, older individuals. But there are many different types of roles that you
Yeah.
can occupy as a volunteer for different organizations, like volunteer bookkeeper or volunteer admin assistant, where you're using skills that might be directly related to your program, donating your time, meeting the right people, and feeling good about it.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's great. That's fantastic. Then for you, do you consider the volunteering and an internship kind of interchangeable? Or, like, do you see a big difference between what you consider volunteering versus an internship? Because again, terminology, especially for international students, they may not know the difference.
Right. And sort of these terms like an internship or a co-op or a work placement, a clinical placement, sometimes sort of get lumped together, but they might look or look a little bit different.
Yeah.
Anytime where it's tied to your academic program, like a placement, a work placement, or a co-op through your academic program, that's through a course. So that might be an unpaid placement, but
Yeah.
there are such things as paid internships, which is different than volunteering.
Right.
Volunteering is more so the donation of your time, your expertise, your heart, a little piece of yourself to an free of charge. So you're donating that time and energy and expertise free of charge to support a local effort, whether it's at a nonprofit, a charitable, like a registered charity, a service club, or a grassroots organization that really relies on volunteers. So there's no payment involved with volunteering.
And
Whereas
that can include like academic payment, so to speak, like in a credit form, like a co-op, right?
Well, yeah, with the co-op, it would be more you're fulfilling the requirements. A placement or a co-op might be fulfilling the requirements of a course for
Right.
your program
So I
required
think
for
a lot of students
graduation.
may think that
Yeah.
co-op
Right.
is volunteering.
Yeah. So
but
they're
it's
different.
important-
Yeah.
I was gonna
Thank
say,
you. Yeah.
They're both
Yeah.
donating your time, but one is a requirement
Right.
for your diploma, degree, whatever you're getting. The other one is like you're actually going out and volunteering on your own accord.
Right.
Right. I
Yeah.
think it's important to.
Yeah.
Your co-op does not count as volunteer. It counts towards your education and your credits, but it is not volunteering.
Yeah,
So
the placement counts towards your course. If it's part of your academic course, it's part of a credit, which is required for graduation. It also counts as work experience,
yes.
because you are out there in the world turning theory to practice, but it's not the same thing as volunteerism
Yeah.
because with placement, there is an evaluation process and there are specific learning objectives that you're required to meet.
Right.
Whereas volunteerism, like you said, is sort of an independent venture that you're pursuing in order to sort of benefit in the way that you are looking to.
Yeah, that's a great way of
Yeah. Thank you.
differentiating
That
the
was a
two.
really good point.
Yeah, of course. Um, and the last one that I've got for you, officially
Ooh.
here, who is the best person in career services to talk to if we have more detailed questions or need more specific information?
Fabulous. So for Cornwall campus, that is me.
There you go. That's why you're here.
Yeah. So for Cornwall campus, that's me, Dana Bingley. The fastest way, I guess, to reach us by email would be CS Career Services Cornwall. Yes, CS Cornwall at sl.on.ca. So that's the direct Career Services Cornwall email inbox. So whether you are a student with a question, a faculty with a question, or an employer with a question, you can email that inbox, and I can direct employers who might be connecting with us to Krista Vidicek, our client advisor, and students direct you to our website to book or otherwise. So that I'd be the best person to connect with if you have more questions. An email, or come and see me in my office, A304, third floor of the Altsville building. Pop in, say hi, ask a question. If my door is open, please come in.
That's great. I think that's also nice for students to know that they can just
Yeah.
be like, hey, because sometimes we're all really busy, even me,
Yeah.
working in the student union office. Sometimes I'm in there, but my door's closed. When I open it, people come in and say hi, right? So
Yeah.
it's important to know that your door's open. If it's open, come and see me.
Absolutely.
Right.
Please do.
Yeah. Anything else?
Not off the top of my head. No.
No? Is there anything that we missed that is pressing? You think we kind of covered a lot?
I think we covered quite a bit. And, I guess one last thing would be URSLC is join. I would encourage, all students who are using our student engagement platform, URSLC. That's where all of your events are posted for students to register. That's where all of the on-campus events and offerings are posted, so students can register for events, get reminders.
And I think the online seminars too. I think they're typically posted in
Yes.
there as well.
Yeah.
So everything is in your SLC.
Yes.
It's there for CSU. It's there for anything, career services, anything at SLC. It's all in the same place.
Yeah, one-stop shop. So I would say join the career services group on URSLC. That way you will be able to receive regular updates about events, workshops, like the job fair, like the webinars, and you'll be able to register for them as well to get reminders, because sometimes we really want to go to something and life gets really busy and then we forget. So registering on URSLC and putting it in your calendar helps you to stay organized and manage your time so that you can prioritize some of these events to support your success.
Well, there you have it. Sign up for your SLC and make sure that you're on top of it.
Yeah.
And if you don't have anything else, I guess we can wrap this up.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming today. A lot of information was put out there. I think this is very valuable information. I think a lot of students didn't know about this, or at least they hear about career services existing, but don't really know what that means, don't really know what you do, don't know if your office is open, right? So I really appreciate you taking the time to go through all of that. I hope if a few students see this and they get the help that they need, or just have questions to ask you, that they know where to go.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you so much for joining us today. That was awesome. Thank you everybody for tuning in to the 4th episode of Beneath the Current, and we'll see you at the next one.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.